afternoon. This is Eric LeClaire with Push Press, and I am so happy and honored to have Josh Price with us today. Former, or should I say former owner of Loco CrossFit, or still current owner?
Still current owner of Loco CrossFit. Yes.
Owner. Fantastic. We have a series titled In the Trenches, and it's a kind of a portrait in leadership through chaos. And each one of the affiliate owners that we're reaching out to have a substantial kind of pedigree in leadership and or building systems, building processes, developing staff, and being able to help reduce risk or mitigate risk through trying times. And so, Josh, thank you so much for the time that we're going to spend here today. For those that are watching, and you may not know, Josh, if you'd like to do a little intro on yourself and maybe your affiliate as well.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, thank you for having me. This is really a lot of fun. I haven't done a lot of podcasts, but I'm getting more opportunities, so it's fun. I own Loco CrossFit, which is in Leesburg, Virginia. That's outside of Washington, D.C. Kind of a fun fact, though, I live in a little bitty town called Pass Christian, Mississippi, 1,600 miles away from my gym. So I actually run it from afar. So
wow,
kind of a cool thing. And then I'm also, I'm the lead mentor for Two Brain Business. I'm the mentor that trains and teaches all the other mentors how we do business at Two Brain.
Awesome. Yeah. How did that come up? Did you use Two Brain initially with Loco, and then you kind of turned into? Tell me about that.
Yeah. So my story with Two Brain started, 3-2-1 Go days. When Chris was still with them and everything. I did the original online course that they had for the business incubator, and goodness gracious, it doubled my business in like 2 months, and then it ended up tripling my business at around the 4-month mark. It was huge. Chris went with Two Brain because he really wanted more mentorship and all that. I wanted the same. Like, I wanted to have the accountability, and I wanted to have the sounding board to bounce ideas off of. So I went that direction with him, and I think I was still a client for another almost 2 years. And then me and Chris were having a conversation, and it was probably March timeframe of whatever year that was, and just whatever I said, he goes, "You need to present at the summit this year." So I got up, I presented at the summit when we were still small. We were still at CrossFit Illumin, Brian's gym. And afterwards, he came up to me, and actually I think he called me and was like, because I think it was at the airport in O'Hare. He was like, "You need to be a mentor for me." So
awesome.
Yep. So I became a mentor, and just over my time there, kind of what we're talking about today, leadership, because of my leadership and just kind of the guy that I am, I ended up rising through the ranks and becoming the lead mentor.
Outstanding. Now, how did that challenge you from that gym owner's role when you started to wear both hats? How'd you develop your staff?
Yeah, great question. So my time in the military and everything, so I was in the Army for like 13 years as a staff sergeant. I actually did get to lead a mission in Iraq as a platoon sergeant, though, so I got that little bit of that E7 experience as well. Yeah. And the big thing that it made me realize is that you have to set up your organization in that way. So basically, for every 5 people or so, you've got to have some type of leadership put in. So we had already started doing that with my head coach and our GM, and then kind of our department leads that we had already. And then it just made me look at, and my GM at the time was really my administrative assistant. And when I looked at her, it was like, okay, you got to be the GM now. I need somebody looking at this. So we just looked at all of the roles and tasks in the business. It's one of the things that Two Brain teaches. And then I realized, I was like, okay, a lot of this is going to come down to leadership. Okay. And in leadership, there's kind of this model that I use, and it's kind of a training model into a leadership, which is first, it's like task oriented. You have to be able to do a task to the standard. Okay. When you prove that, you move into level 2, which is responsibility. All right. Responsibility is earned over time. So the first thing that kind of happens is you have daily responsibility. Somebody's watching you basically over your shoulder. When they see that you can do it daily, moves out to weekly, then it moves out to monthly, and then finally quarterly. But just like in the military, you know, with your NCOVRs or anything like that, we are going to
review.
At least quarterly. When you hit that, we move into the third level, which is decision making. This is where we build leaders, the decision making level. And the most important thing with this is that you, as a leader, as the owner, have to understand how you make decisions so that you can then teach your people how to make decisions the way you do. And with that, I do it in a way I call thought projects. And you can ask any of my people about this because they hate thought projects. I'm like, hey, we're going to do a thought project. And they're like, no. But basically, I ask them, I'm like, show me how you would increase our profitability by 10%. Show me how you would cut expenses. Show me how you would start a new program. And we do this before there's any money on the line, before there's anything that could actually get hurt.
So conceptual first.
Yeah. And then they go through it, show me their steps. And then I show them, you know, like, okay, well, this is what I think of this and this and this. So that moves them through that level. And this is exactly what we did with my admin to bring her all the way up to the GM role, where she understands exactly how I make decisions and now makes those decisions at Loco. And to let everybody know, this wasn't a day, 18 months. It took us 18 months to get this to where it, where I can ultimately move, but at the time, just hand it off.
Right.
Okay. Just to be able to do more for Two Brain.
Right. I love it. I mean, it's methodical. It's got purpose. There's intention behind it. She saw the big picture, obviously, and then you trusted as you assessed her capabilities. You felt more trust, so you gave her more roles, right? More tasks. I dig it. So, bring us full speed to today. We were talking on an earlier call about kind of definitions of leadership or operational definitions of leadership. How did you impress upon your staff that there are values or principles at play that help to mold leaders? Did you have any discussions with them about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I kind of break everything down is so there's two parts to kind of your question. So the first part is there's a hierarchy of kind of need or leadership direction. And that is all of my clients, hopefully they'll listen to this and they'll be like, oh, here he goes. It's vision, mission, goals, objectives, strategy, and tactics. So vision, what is the overall legacy? We may never obtain this ever, but this is the direction that we're going and the why, right? Mission is, I think Jim Collins or whatever we call it, the big, hairy, audacious goal. Right. We're actually going to define what we're trying to hit in a 3 to 5 year timeline. Goals then break down into yearly, like letting us know. Objectives are going to be quarterly. They get smaller and smaller, but they actually spread in scope because now we have marketing objectives, we have sales objectives, we have operational objectives, and we have the business objectives, right? And then so basically, those are managed by the department leads over those departments, right? And then we have strategy. Strategy is going to be our plan, right? So that could be Facebook marketing. It's a strategy. Social media strategy, right? Affinity marketing, which we teach in Two Brain, basically how to create more organic leads. That's a strategy, right? How you teach your classes. That's a strategy. That ultimately needs to go all the way up to the vision, has to align. I teach my classes this way because it aligns with the vision, right? Awesome. And then finally tactics. And those are the individual warrior testing drills, right?
Right.
That
Exactly.
you have to do. So like how to teach a squat, that's a tactic. How to teach the press, how to,
scale things.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
All tactics. Yep.
I love it. I
Okay.
love it. Man, if folks only watch to this moment, they can run away with those right there and immediately employ.
So second part was values, right?
Yep.
So the initial business was built off of my values. And I will actually say they were probably not the best values because I'm an extremely competitive person. So we have this like hardcore competitive line and everything in our business. And I would get in the early days, I'm like, this is training and you got to be on time and all. But as time went on, I softened on that. And I was like, man, like, I've really got to put the customer first. So like one of the values is always that I say is like, what don't I know? That's a value, right? And sure. the context around it is if I'm frustrated, if I'm angry, if I'm irritated at a client or at a person in my life, the first question I have to ask them is, hey, what don't I know about this situation?
Yeah.
Right. And then it immediately opens up and then I'm like, oh, okay, now I can help you. That is ingrained at Loco. What don't I know? Let me find out from my clients so we can take care of them first. Right.
Makes sense.
So what's cool to kind of expand on this, when I left, right, or when I kind of handed up to the GM at first, my values could not propel Loco forward. It had to be the values of our essential staff, right? The people that were in there in the trenches
day to day.
Yep. So we had to have the conversation now. What are your values, right? All of them. What are your values? What do you hold dear? What's important to you? And then we started looking for the common elements, and we started saying, oh man, working hard, that's one. Consistency, that's one, this, that, XYZ. And then that became the corporate values. Excellent. That Loco still uses today, right? And the funny part is like, I don't really see myself besides maybe what don't I know even in that anymore, but that's okay. Right. Because I know that it will push us on for 10 years, 15 years,
right. Of course.
Into the future. Yeah.
So to wrap this into the crisis mode, because really the dialogue today with so many gym owners is they're pulling their hair out because they didn't have things like this in place. And this is not a loaded question. Do you believe all that workup has prepared your staff to handle what's going on today?
Yes, 100%. We've had 6 clients leave.
I'm sorry.
We're not a super huge gym. We probably got 120 group members, probably another, 30 or so PT, and then a mess of kids, 30, okay. 40, 50 kids in the program, right? We had 6 total leave, and that was because they lost their jobs, right? And there was just no way around it. And everybody else, one of the big things they said to us, we called everybody, let them know what's happening. We actually did Zooms. I think we did 2 a day for 3 days in a row where they could come on and ask questions and everything. The biggest thread that we kept saying was, I will never leave this place. I will never leave this place. Why? Sure. Because of my head coach. His number one value is relationships.
Outstanding.
Keith Sager takes care of people better than anybody I've ever seen. And he let them all know that we love you. We're going to take care of you. You've entrusted your fitness to us. And because of those relationships, we have a plan. We are going to make sure that this one area of your life, you are not going to have to lead it yourself. You're not going to have to figure it out. We've got you.
We have the solution for you.
Yeah.
It's like you knew the very next question, right? I was going to just figure, like, that's what so many gym owners need to hear is the clear, consistent communication.
Yes.
Up the chain and down the chain of command,
yes.
Staff to the clients, that we have, 1, we care.
Right.
2, we've got your solution and it's easy.
Yes.
Just show up on the computer, right?
That's
so
right.
At this point, you've got financial hardships, you've got family hardships, you've got all the bad things. let's just add fitness on top. Folks are going to become depressed, frustrated, anxious.
Yep.
Right? Man, I love it. We only have about 9 more minutes, but I think one of the most, or the strongest components here is there anything you'd share that would be poignant or specific to a struggling gym owner today? They're lacking faith in themselves. They might be lacking the staff to facilitate delegation. They might be losing clients. Any parting words for the struggling gym owner?
Do a shameless plug. Seek mentorship. That will help. Just
always.
massively. And that comes from other areas besides Two Brain. That comes through, affiliate support groups, anything like that. But number one, I would say to them is, and I do this fairly often, I will go sit outside and just look off into the distance and reconnect with my why, reconnect with my vision. Why did I do this in the first place? And then I immediately will tell whomever, if it's going to be the staff, the clients, the whatever, this is why we are here. This is what we are doing, right? And when you do that, you immediately insert yourself as the leader, and people want to be led. And I cannot harp on that enough. People want to be led. When they're confused, they don't know what to do. They react emotionally, out of fear. And the thing is when you lead, you show them abundance. You show them where they can go. You show them what can actually be. And if you just do that, I'm telling you, your staff will follow you. Your people will follow you. And most of your problems will go away. Like I know it's so scary to lead, but I can't tell you enough. Just do it. Just say, this as well, Eric. Just say, follow me.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, powerful. Absolutely powerful. You've provided clarity. You've provided action steps. You've provided organizational structure. This is going to be great for a lot of folks to tune in. So I really appreciate your time.